I'm black. We invented everything. Yeah. Thank God I'm black. Thank God I'm black. Thank God I'm black.
What's going on, guys? This is the Boot Brother Podcast. We are an unapologetically Black podcast about business and life. My name is Sean Item, and my co-host is the Jason King. And we have our guest today is Sister YaSinah. How are you doing, Sister YaSinah?
I'm well. How are you?
We are good. We are glad to have you. So this is a mom, a wife, right? You're married as well, right, Sister YaSinah?
Yes.
Awesome. A mom, a wife, a homeschool extraordinaire. When I have issues with my homeschooling, this is the person that I call for guidance, as well as an entrepreneur. So we are really happy to have you on. Sister YaSinah, if you could just kind of tell our guest a little bit about yourself, and we're going to get into this interview.
Well, you said pretty much all of it. I am a mom. I have two beautiful children, 5 and 8. And I am a assistant minister here at Muhammad Mosque No. 1 here in Detroit. And I'm a transcriptionist. So
Awesome. Well, let's go a little ways back. Where you from? Like, okay. What part of the state you from?
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So hold on. Is Memphis or is it Nashville? Who says Maine a lot? Like they say man, but it's like a different way.
Maine is pick one.
It's Maine.
That's what's up.
It's Memphis.
I know.
It's Memphis.
That's what's up. So how was it growing up? How was your upbringing out there?
Well, I'll say when I was with my grandparents, it was amazing. With my grandparents, I got a chance to just experience being a child. Okay. But in their house, it was always at least 15 to 20 grandchildren at any given time. So I had a lot of cousins, sister, brothers. So that was always beautiful. But I had a 15-year-old mother, 14-year-old mother. Wow. And a 15-year-old grandfather. I was 15-year-old father. I'm sorry. And so going between them was, a little troublesome. But overall, I'm a Memphis girl, diehard Memphis girl. I love Memphis.
Awesome. So you end up when did you move? Because you're not in Memphis anymore. When did you leave?
I'm in Detroit, still trying to figure out how the heck I got here. I moved. Yes, ma'am. I moved here October 31st, 2008. After just going through a pretty rough time, and for like 2 years, just a really rough time. And the one place I said I'd never end up moving to, which is Detroit. One place I found myself here, and I've been here 12 years. Wow. And it's been an experience. It's been a beautiful experience. I met my husband, and I have two beautiful children. And I'm outgrowing Detroit, so I'm trying to see where God will take me next.
That's awesome. So you said you have two children. What's their ages?
Yes, 5 and 8.
Oh, that's a fun age.
I say 50 and 80.
That's how I feel sometimes. Yes, ma'am. So, like I was telling everybody in the intro, she homeschools as well. Very knowledgeable about that. How did you decide that you would homeschool? Kind of break us into that segue. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I never had a desire to put my children in school. When I had 3 nieces who I raised until they were 9 and 11. Okay. And I always homeschooled them, and I'd had them since they were 2. So when I had my own children, I just continued that. They've never gone to a public school. because I had my own idea, and I have my own idea of who I want them to become, and they have their own idea of who they want to become, and I didn't want anything or anybody to interrupt that. So people say I'm homeschooling them, but really they're homeschooling me, because I get to tap into their mind. I just give them the curriculum, but their minds are so many light years ahead of mine that I spend more time learning from them. Like this morning, we were talking about optical illusions with my 5-year-old, and astral projection and telepathy with my 8-year-old. So, they just bring up stuff and then we flow with it. Newton's law of relativity, that's what my 8-year-old is on now. So I can't afford to allow someone else to put my child in an institution that's not set up for them to thrive and to become the best of who they are designed to become by God. So I figured, for me, it's my my job, my duty as their teacher, as their first teacher, to make sure that I educate them properly. And in return, I receive my blessings by being educated by them as well.
Powerful. Yeah. So we were just saying that we speak the same language. Both Jason and I, we homeschool our kids. So we the sentiment is very much alike. But Jason was adding something to the conversation. What were you saying, Jason?
See, with me homeschooling my son right now, we're doing it a different way. So I learned the curriculum that the school is teaching, and then I see that they have limitations on the child, which is very puzzling to me, because now that I see what they're doing in school, I can see that 12-year plan. Like when they get literally to the 5th or 6th grade, they're recycled the same information year after year, and there's no development in their minds. So if y'all were to talk to my son, because I talk to him as I should talk to a man, now his mind is learning to process thoughts as a man and not as a robot. So he thinks on a different wavelength than other children. So I look at it and I say, this is why we have so much difficulty in the world today, because we have a really, really terrible education system. Like right now, he's been out of class since 12 o'clock. So when he does this is his reading time. I'll tell him, go get you 2 books to read for 2 to 3 hours, and he'll finish the whole 56, 57 page book. Because his reading level is so high, he'll go through those books quickly now. So that's awesome. So I fully feel you about that education system. It's dangerous. So we really need to make sure that we're, as parents, teaching our children after. If they're still in school, after they get in school, we need to start homeschooling them, because it's not about.
Yeah.
It's not about. Well, I would say it's about what they don't know and what they know. They need to know what they don't want us to teach them, and then they need to know what they want to teach them, so they'll be ahead of the curve on all ways.
I love it. Sister YaSinah, I wanted to kind of pick your brain with this one. I know there's a lot of parents that are fearful, like they weren't the most, academic person. They didn't excel in school. Now, when we talk about this concept of homeschooling, it sounds exciting. It sounds like something that I want to do, but I don't want to miseducate my children because of the lack of education that I might have. What would you say to those people? What type of resources are out there, and how can we kind of lift some of that anxiety off of those parents that have those thoughts?
There's a plethora of information out there. It's called, I love when Brother Ben says it's Google University. Because whatever it is that you want to learn, you can learn, but it has to be the desire, because desire, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, desire feeds the will. So if you have the will to do something, if you have the desire to do it, then there's nothing that can stop you. Your children, because we are their first teachers, your children look to you as though you're a God, because you're standing in the place of God as their nurturer, their provider. So for me, I say I had that same anxiety because I had these two little people who are looking to me like, what you got? So I stay on the internet, whether it's Google, whether it's Quizlet, looking to see what they have that would challenge their brain. YouTube is my best friend. Because there's so much on YouTube that your children can learn. You can also go on, use the apps that come with your phone. Instead of downloading foolishness for yourself, download some of the children's apps that they have and use those. They've got math. You want your children to get better in math? They've got math apps. They've got spelling apps. They've got bilingual apps. Whatever it is that you're looking for them, there's always a way to get it, and it won't cost you anything. But you have to be willing to sacrifice the time. What you don't know, you got to sacrifice the time for you to learn it.
Yeah.
So if I know my multiplication skills are off, then my buddy's going to be sitting down somewhere going 2 times 2 equals 4 and go on and on from there. But sometimes we're stuck in our comfort zone.
Yes.
And we don't want to get out of our comfort zone of what we're doing, because to educate children, it's going to take some of your time out of your day.
That's right.
And if you have multiple children, all children don't learn the same. Mm-hmm. It's like trying to rear one child the way you rear the other child. You can't do that because they're two individual people. Mm-hmm. So it takes studying your children.
Yeah.
I know my 5-year-old, she's going to come and tell you what she wants to learn for the day. And she'll go, hey, we got 10 minutes. This is what I want to learn. and let's see what we can do. So she wants to learn math. She wants to do math. She wants to read and write. You got 10 minutes. It goes beyond that. But when she's done, she's done. And I don't push her.
Yeah.
She'll go back on her own later on, and she'll go back and get in her books. My 8-year-old, it's not that easy. I gotta outsmart her because she thinks she's smarter than me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have to I'm always studying both of my children, but my 8-year-old, I study her more because I know where she gets her attitude from. Mm-hmm. So I have to, for a lack of a better word, I have to bribe her sometimes to get work done. So if you do A, B, and C, and however long you want it to take you, that's how long it takes you. Because we ain't going nowhere. We quarantine. Mm-hmm, so you don't want to do your math. Okay, cool. If it's gonna take you 6 hours, guess what? We quarantined, and I ain't got nowhere to go. You ain't got nowhere to go. So that's on you if you want to waste your time. But while you're wasting your time, I'm going to eat some ice cream.
There you go.
So if you want to eat ice cream, you better do your work. So I have to be strategic with I'm just being honest.
No, that's real.
So I have to be strategic with them because they're not the same people. And that's where parents messed up, because one, you're trying to raise them the way you were raised, and these are different type of children in a different type of age. Wow. So you got to get your mind out the old age way of thinking, because it's not flying with them.
Yes.
And we should be trying to catch up with them as opposed to us trying to pull them back, because we become like the crabs in the barrel. They're trying to move forward and we don't, but we're comfortable. Mm-hmm. You know, and they'll leave you.
That's real. That's real. So you said
they'll check out.
So you said that it's some apps that you said that instead of putting foolishness on your phone, maybe put some apps on your phone. What are some of those apps that you can kind of say that you know are qualified to help with that, so that they don't have to just go on a wild goose hunt trying to find some of these apps?
My children, I have my 8-year-old wants to run Africa. My 5-year-old wants to run China. So Duolingo is one of my best friends.
Okay.
There's another one on there. I think it's called Spell Me.
Okay.
My 5-year-old, she downloaded that one on her tablet, but she started off doing, learning 3-letter words. And so then she advanced her own self. So I use stuff like that. And I'll tell you, and somebody gonna say, what the world? Roadblock.
What's that?
For me, Roadblock.
And that's an app?
It's an app. And a lot of children, adolescents, and teenagers know Roadblock. Roadblock is not necessarily an educational game, but it's one that teaches strategy.
And that's important.
So I'm all about strategy. So we anything we can find that where they're going to be strategizing, we go for it.
No, that's plenty. That's plenty. I wanted to ask you this, Sister YaSinah. So, like, how do you organize your day? Like, how do you fit it all in? So you as a mom, as a wife, as basically the full-time teacher, like, what does that look like? Can you kind of talk to us about that?
That is me waking up between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning, freshening up, making sure that I get my Fajr prayer in. By 5:30, 6 o'clock, my coffee is brewing. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working, transcribing for maybe 2.5 hours.
Okay.
As they're getting up, or they get up about 8:30, about 8:30. They get up, they don't require my attention until after they're done. They don't want my attention. So by 9:30, they've had breakfast, they're dressed, and we're sitting at the table at my desk, and we just go into their coursework. Okay. For me, I work with them for 2 hours, and then we're done. They get to go get their break. I made flashcards for them. They can do word association. They can read. They can work on their math. Am I back? Yes.
Yeah, it froze. All right, y'all. So hopefully we get it back on real quick. But yeah, today we're talking to Sister YaSinah. She's just a wealth of knowledge. Like I was telling you, this is one of the people, my wife and I homeschool my daughter. She was one of the people that I kind of, went out there and was asking. It looks like she's about to tap back in. Was asking for some information about homeschooling. As you see, she really has this down. So I really wanted to use this time with so many people, having their kids due to COVID-19. Everybody's homeschooling pretty much. So I think even if you're not doing the traditional homeschooling, after COVID, before COVID, I think there's something that we can all take away from this conversation. So Sister YaSinah, you were telling us about, what was the last part? What was the last part I heard? And Jason,
about them being able to just have that time to schedule so I give them the time for them to do the things that they want to do, but they have to be educational.
Okay.
So by 3 o'clock, I'm done. 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'm done. And I transcribe a little more. And then I prepare dinner. So by 5 o'clock, we have dinner. 4:30, 5 o'clock, we have dinner. By 6 o'clock, the dishes have been washed. Everybody's good. And I go back to transcribing until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Get right back up 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, start it all over.
I love it. It's something that you said that I resonate with. Like, so many people think that, you got your kids at home all day, so it's like your job to keep them entertained. I tell my kids every day, hey, it ain't my job to keep you entertained. I'm not going to be able to play with you all day. Daddy has to work. But like you say, you can, give them that attention on a schedule, on a certain type of basis, to where, they're still tended to. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? There's you can't be, you can't spend 16 hours with your kids undivided, trying to make sure that they're not bored. That's what my daughter's always. It's about the bored thing there at that phase. So I'm glad you kind of spoke to that, and thank you for kind of sharing that with us, and letting us into that schedule, because I think that's going to help so many people. With so many people never having to homeschool and now being forced to homeschool, everybody's kind of figuring this thing out on the go. So I think that's going to be very insightful. I wanted to kind of pivot and talk about some other topics, Sister YaSinah, if you don't mind. So Sister YaSinah, okay. She's a student minister. She's an entrepreneur. She's a wife. She's, like I told you, she has children. She's doing a fabulous job homeschooling, but she does have an amazing story that we wanted to share with people, because we feel like it can help and connect with so many people. Sister YaSinah, if you wanted to kind of just tell people about some of your experiences and go as far as you want, or as shallow as you want, however you want to do that. But I did want to spend time and kind of talking about that, because I do think it can help so many people in these times.
Yes, sir. Well, my background is at 3 years old, entered into the life of human trafficking, sex trafficking, by my mom's youngest brother, who was a teenager at the time. And I'm in the living room playing with my little doll. He picks me up, takes me into the laundry room, sits me on top of the washing machine, and told me that if I told anybody what he was going to do, which was he molested me. And he said, if you tell somebody, I'm going to kill you. I'll kill your mother. I'll kill your sisters. I'll kill everybody. And so I never said anything. So until that was at 3, and until I was 7, when he sold me into sex trafficking to his friends. And the home that we moved into, I think I was like 4. We moved on Parkway, and so he would have his friends sitting in the dining room, and he told me to come in, and they would do whatever they wanted to do. He'd get the money and then send me out. So he got murdered in 1980. And I thought that was the end of it. But the church that we belonged to, I found myself as a sex slave for the sons of the minister there, pastor, minister, whatever he wanted to call himself. And 3 of his sons, who didn't know what the other was doing, John, Gary, and Joe, I was simultaneously a sex slave to all 3 of them. And for Don, when I turned 14, my mom would send me to his house, and I would spend the summer as his sex slave from the age of 14. And it was for about 1.5 years. And that ended because I went to the swimming pool at his condo one day, met some friends, met some people my age at the swimming pool. One of the young girls went and got me a swimsuit, and I thought I could go swimming and get back home before he came home, because I wasn't allowed to go outside. And I went swimming, and when I got back to the condo, Don's brother Gary, was there waiting. I mean, he didn't know I was there, but he saw my stuff there, and he beat me up and raped me, and put passion marks on my neck and my arm. And when Don came home, he told him that I was at the swimming pool, and he saw me hooking up with a boy, and that's where all the passion marks and stuff came from. And so Don took me home, and when he took me home, he went and told my mom the story that Gary gave him. And I got in the house, and my mom beat me so badly. I think it took me about 3 weeks to heal from that one. but I never went over there again because I was too much of a loose cannon at that point. You factored that in with my mom's boyfriends. When I turned 7, was I 7? I was 6 because my sister, this is 6 or no, I'm sorry, I was 9 because my mom was pregnant with my brother. My mom's boyfriend at the time, Perry, molested me, and she knew what was going on with that. And so she would leave me at home with him. And when she would leave to go to appointments or whatever, then he would take this really thick leather belt out, and he would beat me and then rape me until I got tired. And I started running away until my mom came home. And so for about 6 months, I just got beat every time she left, because every time she left, I would leave. I would jump out my bedroom window before he came back in. And I would stay gone until 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I get home and I get beat. I'd rather take the beating than be abused sexually. So that happened for a while. And then she got rid of him. And when I was 14, she started dating this guy who named Mac. And Mac used to rape me and leave $100 under my pillow. So I couldn't lock my door, because if I locked my door, my mom would beat me. And so that, I was 14, and that kept going on until I was 15. So, but with Joe, and she got rid of Mac, and I started, but I was still dealing with Joe and Gary. So I was a sex slave till I was 19. Well, Gary till I was 17, and then Joe until I was 19. And with both of them, they beat me pretty bad. And I got out of it with Joe because I was living with my grandmother, and he came over, and the day that he came over, I had already planned to commit suicide. And he came over and he beat me and threw me on the bed. But this time I fought him off. And I told him, if you come back, I'll tell my grandmother. And so he left, and I never saw him again. And that day I tried everything in the world. I slit my wrist. I drank poison. I drank liquor till I was throwing up. And right when I was about to hang myself, we lived at 793 South Parkway East. And right when I was about to hang myself, this voice in my head said, put the tape in. And it was a tape that my mom's boyfriend had given her. He was a really nice guy, into the Nation of Islam. He had a lot of VHS tapes, and I'm telling my age, of a lot of VHS tapes. And we went to his house the night before, and he gave me he said, I want you to watch this tape when you get a chance. And so that day, right before I was getting ready to hang myself, that voice said, put the tape in. And I put it in, and it was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the Donahue Show. And when he came out, I sat there and I cried. And I said, that's my father. That's Jesus. That's the man I'm looking for. And I'm 19 years old. And I said, I'm not going to try to kill myself anymore. Just based off of that tape. And I never tried again. And that same day I stopped eating pork and beef and declared myself a Muslim. And, but I never tried to kill myself again. And I never ran into them again, but not in the flesh, but that energy and that spirit and that dross that they left on me. You know, spending 16 years in an environment like that with no help. And everybody knows what's going on, but my family is rooted in human trafficking. My family's history is rooted in abuse. And so it's hard to find a victim that'll help another victim when you've been victimized yourself. So I can't go to my grandmother because her mama had her in a brothel when she was 3 years old. I can't go to my mom because and her sisters because their history is rooted in sexual abuse and things of that nature. So I didn't have anybody. You know, I couldn't go to school and tell anybody because hell, I was getting molested by the shop teacher, Mr. Slappy. Mm-hmm. So with all of this going on, you know, here I am at the age I am now. I was thinking about this on the way over here. I love being a mother because I get to experience through them what it's like to be just a child. Mm. I get to see what children free of worries looks like. And it's a beautiful thing. I get to see what it's like to just be 8 and 5 and not have vultures swarming around you, mm-hmm. waiting for an opportunity. I'm very protective of them because of that. And I would kill with my bare hands if it means to save them. Yeah. Because I know what it's like to trust people who are supposed to be your protectors, but they are your predators. To go to church where you're supposed to be talking about Jesus and saving souls, but you got spirit stealers and soul killers. To grow up in a home where where everybody, not one person in the house hasn't been sexually abused. So it happened to me. I got over it, but you haven't. Because if you were over it, I wouldn't be dealing with it.
That's right.
So it wasn't until the teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what Minister Farrakhan, I'm just being honest, what Minister Farrakhan brings to my life, that I'm still here. Mm-hmm. Any videos that I could get as I was trying to make my way out of hell, anything dealing with women and the value of the woman, I would listen to and play over and over and over and over again, because that was the first time in my life, aside from my grandfather, that was the first time in my life I've ever seen a man. My dad died this year, but I had only had my dad for 7 years. My dad was a drug dealer and a ladies' man. He was 15 when he became a parent. My mom, 14. They had their own thing going on. So, you know, by the time I was 10, I learned how to be a mama, because I was raising my sisters and my brother. So I never experienced, except for what I stole of my time, I never experienced being a child. So I get to, you know, people say you have such a childlike spirit. Well, when that child never gets a chance to grow, it just stays with you. That's right. Unless you kill it off. And I'm not trying to kill it off. So I get to be an adult. Or as my 8-year-old calls me, a adult, because she says I'm too little to be an adult. But I get to live my life finally the way I want to live it. You know, so I'm, but here's the thing, Brother Sean and Brother Jason, because I'm looking at y'all faces. I thank God.
Yeah, I know. And before you go to there, I want to say, I want to say
tremendously.
Yes, ma'am.
For what I went through.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if I hadn't gone through what I went through, I couldn't be out here trying to save women.
That's right.
I couldn't be out here trying to educate men on the pain that it brings to women when their virtue is stolen.
Yes, ma'am.
If I hadn't gone through what I went through, wouldn't have nothing to talk about. So while it was a terrible thing, I get to save women with just a word. I get to see what other people don't see. I can spot a girl that's been trafficked. I can spot a woman who's in a relationship. No matter how pretty she looks on the outside, I can look in her eyes and tell how much pain she's in on the inside. I can spot a Negro or Chinese, Japanese. I can spot a Negro who's trying to, run some game. Mm-hmm. So would I have loved to have lived that life that other people get to live? Of course. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that he teaches us that our lives are already mapped out tens of thousands of years before we even come into existence. And before our souls even take on this flesh. God asks us, are you sure you want to take this journey? We say yes. So if that's the case, as bad as my circumstance was, who am I to complain? Because I said yes. Mm-hmm. I can say that now, but I wasn't saying that back then because I didn't understand it. But I said yes. And so because I said yes, then I hold my head up high. I don't let people try to berate me because of what they think they know of me.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I tell you, know the parts of me that I introduce to you, what I tell you of me. Mm-hmm. But Jesus said, take this yoke upon you and learn of me. So if that's what he said, then I'm saying, before you judge me, get to know me.
Yes, ma'am.
Because human trafficking was just a part of it. It wasn't even a big part of who I pray God is going to make me into at the end of this thing.
That's right.
My destiny is bigger than my circumstance. Mm. Ain't that what we learn in ABS Tribe?
That's right. That's right.
So I don't judge myself. And let me say this. My mom, one of the strongest women I've ever met. Mm-hmm. I don't judge her. I love her. I thank God for her. Mm-hmm. Because she's a victim of her circumstance.
That's right.
You can't take a 14-year-old and expect a 14-year-old mommy to raise a child. She's still a child herself.
That's right.
A 15, 16-year-old, because my dad and I we were 5 days apart in our birthday. So you take a 15-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and you want them to do what with a child?
That's
really? Right. Really? They don't know nothing because their parents doing the best they can. My grandmother was 11, she was 10 when she got married to my birth grandfather, not the one that raised me. 10 when she got married. My grandfather was 21. She was 10. She was 13 when she had her first baby. She had 12 children.
Mm.
Her mother who ran a brothel, was a madam who was selling her.
Mm-hmm.
So what in God's green earth do you think, coming from that kind of history, then you deal with prior to that slavery, what they gonna teach us?
That's right.
Nothing.
That's right. That's right.
But I can look at my mother and say, damn, that's a good woman. She did the best she could with what she had, and what she had was nothing. So I'm now at a point where over the past 8 years, I'm teaching my mother how to be a mother to her daughter. But I had to study her. Go to my aunts and go, hey, can you tell me something about my mother? Because she ain't talking. Yeah. I didn't talk to her for 3 years. But in that 3 years, I was studying her. Mm-hmm. So when God said, call your mother, when I was pregnant with Saraya, my 8-year-old, he said, call your mother. And so with what I knew of her, what I learned of her, I'm able to navigate the relationship where we have a beautiful relationship.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sister YaSinah.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't judge her.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for
being
so. So, can you hear me?
She said she can't hear nothing. Oh Lord. Sure.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
You can hear us? Yeah, I was saying thank you.
I can hear you.
You know, you can hear me now?
Oh,
okay, yeah. We were just saying thank you. You know, thank you for sharing. Thank you for keeping it all the way real. And thank you for
Jason, stop rubbing your head.
For yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I mean, I know you're gonna say it's, thank God, and thank you for going through this, and I'm an overcomer, and I get all of that, and I appreciate you for saying that, and I know it's sincere, but we just want to thank. There's so many of us that have stories that can help people, that could connect with people. That's not this brave. So we're not going to act like it's just a thing that happens all the time. Many of us are living in shame. Many of us aren't dealing with it in a proper way. So I just wanted to thank you, and I appreciate that.
I didn't deal with it in a proper way either. I just got to this point. This is the mature me.
That's good. That's good.
The old me was drinking alcohol and smoking weed and pot. To just be honest with you. So this is the me that had to go through, still had to deal with those bumps and then heard things that weren't there. I still had to go through dealing with dealing with bad relationships, and where I'm having to fight people and I'm getting locked houses and stuff like that. I still went through all of that. I still, as a Muslim, went through some horrible stuff because I wasn't where I am now. So it wasn't I don't want anybody to think that, it was, Mary Poppins or take the blue pill, red pill, Neo thing. No, I went through hell to get to where I am now. And if my testimony, because I don't say it's a story, if my testimony can help somebody not go through that, then I think I'm doing my job. But it wasn't easy.
No.
I still have those days, which is why I do, I get audited with Dianetics. I still have those days where I still feel, I've had days recently where I'm looking over my shoulder. And I'm all the way in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't get, it gets easier, but it gets easier with time and with faith and with changing my mindset.
Mm-hmm. So you said you're a student minister as well. How did that come about? You know what I mean? Like you said, you're dealing with a lot in your personal life, your upbringings and things like that. What made you want to do that? Like, how did that come into play? Can you tell us a little bit about that story? No, I was saying you're a student minister. How did that come about? You know, I know you dealt with a lot of things in your background, like, you know, like all of us, but you know, you were just telling us your story, but I know in the intro you told us as well as you're a student minister. So how did that come about?
So I wanted to be a student minister since I was 7. And so when my mother would punish me, she would send me to my room. And at first we started off, I had, you know, my Michael Jackson, my Duran Duran, all my good, you know, my country band Prince albums, all of that stuff, right? And so I would just stay in trouble so I can get on punishment, stay in my room. Well, she got smarter than me, and she took Michael Jackson, everybody, Ready for the World, everybody. So I was left with my Bible and my dictionary, and I just started reading the Bible, and I just fell in love with the Bible. So you go from 7 years old till I'm 15, 16 years old. All I can do is 17. All I can do is just read the Bible. I wanted to be a minister just based on reading the Bible.
Okay.
And I love Shirley Caesar. So Shirley Caesar was like it for me. And so I wanted to be the pint-sized Shirley Caesar. And so, but when I was in Sunday school at Praise of Zion, Reverend Huntsman said to me, he was the assistant minister. He said to me, "Oh, you can never be a minister, especially not here, not a woman. You can speak on the side over there, but you'll never get in that pulpit." Okay. All right. I just want to preach here. So I would go, and it was based on the fact that I kept getting kicked out of Sunday school because I had questions that they didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
And and so we would hop from church to church because I asked so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
But it was my love of the Bible that made me want to be a preacher. It was seeing the condition of my people that made me want to be a preacher, because I grew up around jackleg preachers. And I wanted to do something better. Okay. And there were no women. It's always men, except for Shirley Caesar. It was always men. So I wanted to be in that number. Fast forward, I come into the Nation of Islam, and the same doors that were shut on me as a Christian were shut on me as a Muslim.
Wow.
So I transferred. Student Minister Patricia, who's I call her my mom. She's out in Holly Springs, Mississippi. When I came into the Nation, her daughter was the one who fished me in.
Okay.
And we had graduated together from a computer programming course. And at our graduation, I stood up, I spoke, and when I sat down, she turned around, she said, "Are you a Muslim?" I said, "No." She said, "Yes, you are, you just don't know it." And that was in 1994. Mm-hmm. So I joined the ranks of Muhammad in 1990. I started processing in 96, for real processing. Mm-hmm. And in 2005, Minister Patricia said, "Hey, you want to do your mom a favor and come down to Holly Springs and be my assistant?" Mm-hmm. Yes, I will accept. And we did some beautiful things there. And when I moved here in 2008, I joined the ministry under Student Minister Rasul Muhammad, one of the sons of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in 2010. And in 2011, he said, "YaSinah, I would love to give you St. Kitts. I would love for you to go and raise up St. Kitts. You know that's where the minister's mother is from." "Yes, sir. I'd love to give you St. Kitts, but you got to be married in order for me to send you to St. Kitts." Mm-hmm. Well, I got married, but he had, due to some personal health issues, we made a transition, and Student Minister Troy is the student minister over the mosque now, and that's who I've been serving under since 2013. Mm-hmm. So I've had an opportunity, and with him and with Student Minister Rasul, this has been my longest tenure. Mm-hmm. Serving in the student ministry, and it's been a beautiful thing. I've been able to work with communities, to raise the awareness of sex trafficking, not just against women and children, but with the LGBTQ community, and men as well, because your gender human trafficking isn't gender specific. Okay. So the doors have been open for me to do a lot of beautiful things, a lot of beautiful works, working with women with eating disorders and things of that nature. So it's been a nice ride. Awesome. And with COVID, just trying to figure out another avenue to take to do what I was doing, servicing our people now. Okay. So.
Okay, cool. So you have a business. She is an entrepreneur as well. I didn't want to end this thing without talking about her business. You do transcribing. For people that don't know what transcription is, first kind of tell us that, and then we'll ask a few more questions pertinent to your entrepreneurial ventures.
A transcriptionist is a person who, I'll say in my field, because there are many different areas of transcribing. But for me, I love to do real-time audio and video transcribing. And what I do is I copy whatever somebody is saying, copy it verbatim. Okay. Type it up and put it to them in a nice little if I'm taking dictation, if I'm typing, I type 70 to 75 words a minute.
Wow.
So, but that's what I do. I take the content from videos, audios, and I put it in a type format for you, for it to be used however you want to use it. Most people are using them now for ebooks, dissertations, and things of that nature. So.
For sure. Where can people find you to be able to find more information about your services and stuff like that? This interview up, we're having some technical difficulties, but we will have her Instagram inside of the description of the video whenever we post it. So if you guys need any transcription services or anything like that, we definitely, like you heard her beautiful, amazing story. This is somebody very ethical, hardworking, and definitely somebody that we know that you would that would do a good job on your projects. If you got books, if you have blogs, if you have articles that you want to write, this is kind of her niche and her lane that she can help you with. But other than that, you guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in. This was a very powerful episode. You know what I mean? Didn't want to be super heavy, you guys, but at the end of the day, we want this to be a very real podcast, y'all. It's real stuff going on here. And we have people that could speak on it from a real way. You know what I mean? Like we could talk about it. We can kind of assume how it would be, or you could hear firsthand from a person that has experienced it and really use that testimony to help so many other people. So brother Jason, did you have any other closing words for us as we kind of wrap this thing up?
Oh, first of all, I would like to thank Sister YaSinah for coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bless her, because just hearing her story, and like she said, she could see me and Sean's face. Like
I'm over here boo-hooing, bro.
I'm trying. I was holding everything in. Like I get like, you'll see if you look back, it look like I'm getting bigger.
But Jason, to me, it was like, I don't know what your thoughts. It was just amazing, like, to see how powerful God is as well in people's lives. So yes, like, it was very traumatic hearing about those things, but to see the power and the conviction that she had, and just being able to stand flat-footed and be able to tell her story. And I don't care who listens. I don't care how far this go viral. Like, this is my story, and I want to help our people. That just touched me, man.
It was like, you know, just listening to her, like, I could always, like, I could hear my mother talking, you know.
Yes.
Like, the tone of her voice, that same calmness in her voice, even going through all of that was amazing to me, you know. And even though, you know, when she was going through it, like I said, I was in my mind, I always, like, I say, I wish I could go back in time to protect her.
Yeah.
Because that's how, because you could see how I was just getting, it looked like I was getting bigger, but it was just so much. And I was just like angry at the men for doing that to her. But then I was proud of her for going through and coming out of that being at where she was at, and for her to survive and come out of that is a testimony, she's a living testimony. Like, right. For everybody out there that's going through hard times, don't ever get to the point to where you give up, because everybody just quits. You know, like I tell people all the time, I've been at this stuff for 13 years.
Yeah,
I didn't quit, but like to see somebody else, even in a different circumstances than us, way more traumatic, way more difficult, way more than unbelievable than anything you could see, to rise above that and be successful. Now, let just people, please, if you do anything in the world, keep pushing. And that's my final words, you know. And I just want to tell you, Sister YaSinah, I love you. And like I tell everybody else, like on my lives, if don't nobody love you, I love you. Please believe that. And we're gonna end out with this. This was
powerful.
This was
very powerful. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.